Live from 1420 WBSM, this is The Barry Richards Show. Get on the air now by calling 508-996-0500. Read Barry's latest blogs on WBSM.com and follow along on WBSM's award-winning Facebook page. Real New Bedford people, real New Bedford topics. It's time to get real with The Barry Richards Show on New Bedford's news talk station, 1420 WBSM.
And a very good afternoon. I wanted to say morning. I guess I'm still into that. Oh, the guy from 10 to noon, but it's not. It's the old guy from 10 to noon who is in right now for Barry, who is out for another day taking care of some business at home. It is Wednesday, and as we always, and Mayor Jon Mitchell is with me today. Mayor Mitchell, hello, welcome.
Hello, Brian. Hello.
We haven't done this. You know what? You never used to come on my show.
You're bitter about that, it sounds like.
I am.
Yeah.
A little bitter. But
Yeah.
I was with Kevin. I know you know Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
We were together for breakfast on Sunday. And I said I'm filling in for Barry, and I'll be doing Wednesday show, and we have midweek with the mayor. He goes, oh, you think he's... No, I said, I'm wondering if he's going to come in because we know about the weather and all the other things going on. He goes, of course he's going to come in.
Yeah.
You're here.
Kevin can put in a good word for you. I know he's your son, but you know what? He can pull strings.
He does.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of string would I want pulled?
What can the mayor do for me? I'm here. Look at he got me here.
I figured you'd be here anyway. What do you think of the weather?
I prefer about 85 and sunny.
Same here.
The slight breeze from the southwest. Yeah.
Not happening.
I don't think so. No, we're okay. I guess they're getting more snow in other places to the north, and this isn't all that big of a deal.
No,
our guys will treat the roads
compared to a week ago. A little bit more.
Yeah, this is no big deal today. Kids are in school. Nobody's blinking an eye.
I'm surprised they're in school, but I'm glad.
Yeah, look, it's all of about 2 inches, so there'll be more snow to come. We'll be ready.
I went out and I talked to some people. I said, if I'm going to have the mayor on, we have people who call here, and we will certainly hear from them today. But I wanted to have some mothers who don't get to hear the show, who I can say, well, if you go to our YouTube channel at WBSM 1420, you can hear the mayor respond to your question. 2 people wanted to talk about the streets from last week. You know, we snowed. We got some, 4 or 5 inches?
I think it was around, in certain parts of the city, we had as much as 9.
Really?
Most. It varied a lot across the city, yeah.
Well, we had some streets that were pretty rough going. And I mean, for days after the storm. Would you like to comment on that at all?
Sure. No, if we talked about it in the last 2 shows with Barry, so you should tell those people they should be tuning in right about now. But I'll be happy to talk. I'll be happy to talk about it again. So Barry and I talked about it extensively as the snow was about to start falling. I think it was a Wednesday night storm, so I was on just that same day. But, snow plowing, we do it very effectively here in New Bedford, and we improved tremendously since the big storms of 2015. But we had a situation, an unusual confluence of weather events on that Wednesday that might elude the casual observer, but were very real problems for the plowing operation.
You're talking about the rain, then the snow, then the cold?
In part, but also, the way that when it happened, and specifically that it happened about 5 hours. The change from rain to snow happened about 5 hours after it had been forecasted. So, we rely on forecasts from the National Weather Service as well as MEMA, as well as the TV stations 6, 10, and 12. But all of whom were predicting that the change would be at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and it didn't happen until 10. So one might say, well, what's the big deal with that? Rain's better than snow. Well, the answer is when you have that streets that are that wet and it rains for that long, it washes away all the product you put down, all the salt and the magnesium chloride, which are melting agents, which prevent that ruddiness that you saw in the streets and that was difficult to travel over. And when you combine that with a drop in temperature that happened almost immediately, the temperature dropped around 10 degrees in a matter of less than an hour. You have an immediate freezing even before the plows can get out on the roads. The plows can't get out there immediately because they don't scrape the surface. We
noticed.
Well, but they don't do that because you end up with broken plows and taxpayers having to foot the bill for that, Brian. So given that, you had a situation where it all froze and got compacted immediately. If you look at the extent to which the streets were plowed, as we like to say, curb to curb, it was done extremely well. But our guys had to confront a situation that was difficult. We had about because there was product on the road, we had about $20,000 worth of product washed into the drain because it rained for 5 hours longer than the weatherman said.
Can you put something else on top, because people were slip sliding? If I can recall, a week ago Monday, when people went back to school, the roads were bad. And the other part that I know this isn't on the city to take care of, but somehow, some way, the city should be reminding folks that they need to do the sidewalks. You had people walking in the streets, slipping.
Yeah, well, we do that, and we find businesses that don't shovel their sidewalks. In addition, I think what people need to understand is, look, we do it as well as anybody, anywhere. We're very effective at clearing the streets. And as I made clear, if you were listening to my show that day, you would have heard me say it in advance of the storm, that we're going to have ice on the streets inevitably, and people need to take that into consideration, and that we weren't going to be able to have crystal clear bare streets for a while because it got so cold. And you ask, well, why can't you put some melting agent on top of it? We do. It just doesn't work that well when the temperature is 5 degrees. It doesn't work.
508-996-0500. Also toll free at 877-996-1420. I would tend to believe that tonight is one of the bigger meetings dealing with education that you've had in a long time with the Superintendent Screening Search Committee. What should we expect if we go over to Keith Middle School tonight?
No, I don't think you should expect all that much. It's an organizational meeting. It's more procedural than anything else. There will be opportunities later for public input about what folks would like to see from their school district and from the new superintendent who might lead it. Tonight is more an effort to organize. It's chaired by Barry Haskell, who's worked an awful long time, or for a while in this district, but a former superintendent over in Plymouth, very well known and esteemed educator in Massachusetts more generally. And he and the rest of the committee is rounded out by a very fair representation of the community along all lines: racial, ethnic, gender, as well as occupational. So, look, their job is to help the school committee figure out who the best candidate is, and so their work starts tonight.
If I can back up, and I wonder how much this might be the cart before the horse. If I can recall Colleen DeWicki when she was going around as a candidate for the school committee, and a few others jumped on her bandwagon, but I heard this loudly from her, that we need to find out exactly what people want from their schools first before we decide who we're going to have for a superintendent. Would you agree with that or disagree?
Logically, yeah, that makes sense. But understand this: I mean, there have been plans in place that have been executed on. Those exercises have been done. That was one of the first things that I did. You might recall when I got into office, we had a series of public sessions around the city at each of the 3 middle schools to get all that information out there and to start to shape a way forward. And that's what really launched ed reform in this city, which is, 5 years into it, moving forward, and much more work to do to come. We have a note, and I think that as the new superintendent comes in, I think that exercise should happen in earnest. What we need, bottom line, is a really good leader. And the reality for the hiring process right now is, we can't waste our time. We can't be spending an inordinate amount of time talking about the specific attributes of the next school leader that should happen, but we also know that we're in a very sort of narrow window to hire superintendents right now. A window that opens up.
Why can't you bring in
and
somebody part-time, temporary? That's happened before.
No.
Are you totally against that?
Totally. Yeah,
Okay.
it's impractical. The school district is in the middle of a reform effort, and putting in somebody just as a placeholder for an entire year, because that's what it would be, is not realistic. We would lose a lot of time. And you know what? And when it comes to the business of education, you can't play with your food, because every single kid only gets to have, in the case of third graders, third grade once. In the case of fourth graders, only fourth grade once. You only get that shot once. And so we have to move with all deliberate speed when it comes to these matters.
I've been out of the hot seat for a little while, and I don't do the Wednesday educational focus like I normally do. I do know that last week there was a school committee meeting, and from what I understand, there was some contentious moments dealing with this particular issue and the people that you asked to be on this search committee. Has anything changed from the committee that you initially announced to where we are today?
Well, there are. So there was a screening committee appointed by the school committee in December. That was a screening committee of 7 members, voted unanimously by the school committee at the time, no dissenters. And at the time, we said that we would leave room in the January school committee meeting to add 1 or 2 more members. And so that's what happened. So there were 2 additions to that screening committee. Mr. Cotter asked to join it as well. So it's now rounded out as 10 members. And an even number.
Are you happy with that?
An even number is probably not desirable, but I don't think.
Does that include you?
If there were 5-5 splits, the tie probably goes to allowing the candidate to go forward, and ultimately it's the school committee that decides.
As ex officio, would you get a tiebreaker vote?
No.
No?
No. Listen, the screening committee is just that. It is a committee that vets the candidates, that interviews them, that does more weeding out than selecting. It's not selecting candidates. It's deselecting candidates who shouldn't move forward to the school committee. It's the school committee's choice, ultimately.
Have any candidates surfaced yet?
I'm not in charge of that, so I don't know.
You don't know.
I hope a whole lot of candidates surface. I hope people out there in education leadership circles understand that New Bedford is a great opportunity if you want to lead a district in a city that's growing and becoming stronger and more vibrant. I think it's a compelling opportunity.
Have you been following the search for the education commissioner here in the Commonwealth at all?
A little bit. I know that there are 3 finalists on board now, and so we'll see what happens. But I don't have a sense of if someone has an inside track, or if there's, I don't know much about the candidates. I've met Jeff Riley a couple of times, but I can't say that I know him.
Seems that there is 1 person from Massachusetts and 2 from outside the Commonwealth. I bring this up because we hear that Massachusetts is tops in education. We certainly have the colleges. Don't you think that we can easily find, not in New Bedford, but in the Commonwealth, somebody to be the education commissioner that's from here?
If the best person is from, the dark side of the moon, that's the person who should be hired. That's the way
I don't argue that, and I'm certainly a freedom person, but it just seems with all the accolades that Massachusetts gets around the country, you would think that there would be half a dozen, maybe a dozen applications and 3 finalists from the Commonwealth. That's all. I'm not trying to say that they didn't choose the best three or anything along those lines.
You'll have to ask them who the best three people are.
I want to ask the mayor.
I have no idea.
I know you don't.
I have no idea who the best three people are. And I all I know is that Massachusetts doesn't have a monopoly on the best people. So
probably not. But maybe they were educated here at one time.
I have no idea.
I know. I don't either.
It doesn't matter to me. Just pick the best person.
It doesn't matter as long as they do, as you say, pick the very best person. I'm not sure. I think I did see at least one female name on there for whatever that's worth. 508-996-0500. So tonight's meeting, you're not really expecting a lot of hoopla, just basically going over some of the procedures?
Yeah, that's what it's about. And it's not the only meeting. And, I don't know if you've reviewed, you've probably reviewed the job posting. I mean, the job posting will be up there until, I think it's the beginning of February, mid-February or so, and they'll go about their business of interviewing candidates after that deadline closes. Speaking
of posting, and I'm glad you brought that up, one of the people that I spoke to, Karen, she wants to know why the link for the Parker Street waste site is not on the city's website anymore.
I have no idea. I'll look into it, Brian. I appreciate it. She can call and point that out to us, but I appreciate her bringing it to our attention, and we'll go ahead and look into it.
So
I'm writing it down now.
No idea why it's not there. It has been there before.
I have no idea, Brian. I've been monitoring the website, but I'll make sure that the folks who do that will get it up there.
Fair enough. 508-996-0500. Good afternoon. You're on with Mayor Mitchell.
Hi, how you doing, Mr. Mitchell? I do thank you very much. The streets are really great how you cleaned it compared to what they were years ago. But don't forget, the vehicles you had years ago were diesel-powered, and they were city-owned at the time. But you know what? They came in quick. My only complaint is sidewalk snow from the sidewalk removal. I lived in a lot of cities. I lived in New York City. I lived in Boston. I lived in Paterson, New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey. And the thing is, they allotted so many hours, but no one cleans sidewalks here. I'm a pedestrian. I'm slipping and sliding in front of people's houses, and no one does anything to clean their own sidewalks. They get one shovel full. Also, you got people who are handicapped in those motorized wheelchairs. They can't even egress into the street, into the other sidewalk across the street.
Mr. Mayor, did you hear him?
Well, I didn't. You hit the button before I put my headphones on, Brian, so I didn't hear all of it, but
complaining about the sidewalks not being cleaned and people that use motorized carts and whatnot.
Yeah. So if you see, so what I'd say to you is, no, I appreciate you're bringing it to our attention. You know, as I think you know that sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner. You know, if you see sidewalks that need to be clear, if there are impediments to, you know, people being able to walk down the street or get down the street in a motorized scooter, go ahead and call it into to City Hall. You can call the mayor's office. You can call DPI. You can call either one.
Let the mayor finish. Go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah. So either way, just let City Hall know, and we'll alert the property owner. We've had some issues with certain businesses that haven't gotten on the stick in that way, and they've been fined. Especially a number of the national chain stores that have been derelict in that duty, and so the city's gone out and actually ticketed them, and it's gotten a little bit better, but I think it could probably get better still.
But it's also city properties, city schools, parks, a lot of things, and that also a lot has to do with the city itself. Also,
okay.
I mean, I lived in New York City. I lived in Boston. Sidewalks are always clean, and I mean, I understand this was a hard removal of snow because it came in as rain and it froze over and all that stuff. But also, these people don't understand in Massachusetts. There's a Massachusetts law that says you're not obligated to remove snow from the street, but you're actually allowed to compact snow for sleighs and horses and all that back in the day. And that's still in the law books from the General Court of Massachusetts.
All right, so I appreciate the comment. So yeah, just if you see that, just go ahead and let us know. We'll, we always try to get better at what we do, and we can get better if everybody's making sure that we know. So if you see sidewalks that need to be cleared, just please call them in, regardless of whose property it's next to.
Thank you for your call. Let us continue. You're on with Mayor Mitchell. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have a question for the mayor.
Sure.
First, I want to say that they do a very good job on the city streets, I think. And I'm a senior, and I think the streets are very well taken care of in storms. But my question is it at all feasible for a couple of guys to go around in a small truck and just make a 2-foot path at the bus stops?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're climbing on top of 2.5-foot mounds of snow to get on and off the bus. And my own fear for myself, and I see it with the other people at the, getting off the bus with me, is that one of us is going to end up under the bus.
Yeah, you know what? That's it's a really good point. As we do our snow events, I think there could be a little bit better coordination with CERTA in the city, and so that bus stops are prioritized, because I'm guessing you stand on the sidewalk, and then when the bus pulls up, you walk over it. You have to walk over the snow mound, and we need to avoid that. So it's probably one of these things where, as we go, what we usually do after we're done plowing, we go around and dig out things like fire hydrants and other things. But the bus stop should be on the priority list as well. And CERTA is not really equipped to do that on their own. The drivers always try to make accommodation for that. So it's really an effort on the city's part, it seems. So that's a great suggestion.
Thank you for your call. Speaking for myself as a person who uses the bus quite often, the sidewalks were so impassable that you stand on the street so the bus driver can see you, and then you do your best to move out of the way so the bus can pull in. But it was a hazard. Even 6th Street, going down by the bus station, you couldn't walk on the sidewalk, so you walked in the streets, and the streets had the ruts. It wasn't a great thing. It really wasn't.
Well, I agree with the caller that that's something that we need to prioritize, Brian.
Let us continue. You're on with Mayor Mitchell.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, is it now? Okay.
Good afternoon, yeah.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to thank you. I called a couple of weeks ago before the storm about a tree being brought down in front of my house. I left for work at 7 o'clock. I had cars to come by my house later on at around 8:30. The crews were there. They got the job done, and I didn't have to worry about this past storm. So I'd just like to thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you telling us that. I mean, it's good for our guys to hear that, but it's also it reinforces the point I was making on earlier calls, which is when people call information in, things happen. So I encourage people to call city government.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't hold you up anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call.
So, Brian, I just want to add one thing. So I just got a text from Michelle Paul, the city's environmental steward, who is on top of all things environmental in the city. I should say her title is Director of Resilience and Environmental Stewardship. But as it pertains to the Parker Street waste site, she says that the link is still on the city's website. It's in the same place that it's always been, and that she had emailed, if it's the same Karen about that yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well, good enough. I don't know if it's the same Karen. It's just someone who said Karen. So 508-996-0500.
It's the same one.
It is? Okay, fair enough. We'll take a brief break. I see people want to get in to talk to the mayor, so we will do that. Brian in for Barry on a Wednesday.
1420 WBSM, New Bedford's most trusted newsroom.
Would you like more energy? How about more power? Or maybe you just want this year to be your best yet. It's not a pipe dream. Subluxation is a condition that can rob you of your energy, your power, and your function. If you're tired of taking the same old drugs with no results, it's time to get checked. Right now, a professional checkup of your spine and nerve system at Power of Life Chiropractic is just $35. That's right, just $35. That includes the consultation, examination, and the necessary x-rays. Call Power of Life Chiropractic now at 508-999-4045. Leave your name and number. Call now 508-999-4045 for a full checkup, including the x-rays and a report of the results. You'll be glad you did.
Evicted.
Foreclosure.
Illness.
Addiction.
Job loss.
Not all homeless and hungry people look like they live on the street. Hundreds of adults and children experience homelessness every year within the city, and on any given night, it's estimated that at least 50 people are without any kind of shelter, sleeping outside, in cars, in abandoned buildings, wherever they can. Rise Up for Homes is a campaign working to build awareness and raise funds to meet the needs of individuals and families in our community. Your donation will help them keep open a cold weather shelter every winter and help them improve and create better access to prevention services and create more affordable housing solutions for people in need. Homelessness can happen to anyone, anywhere. You can impact someone's life by texting RISE UP to 50155 to make a donation or visit riseupforhomes.com.
If you disagree with Barry, call now to get on the air. 508-996-0500. 1420 WBSM.
Disagree with Barry all you want. He's not here today. Brian in for Barry. It's midweek with the mayor. The mayor is here, and we're taking your calls. Hello.
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 I just have one question to the mayor. Some of these little small parks around some of these homes that not being shoveled by the city, but the tenants that own, or the landlord that owns the home, is shoveling in front of his house, but it's adjacent to a park that belongs to the city. And I'll let you speak on that, please.
Yeah, that's the city's obligation to plow the sidewalks along the parks, and if people see that that's not being done, please alert us. Know that the city does have more responsibility for sidewalks by virtue of having lots of parks and facilities than any other given homeowner or business. But yeah, that's the obligation, and usually, I think realistically, after a big snowstorm, those are things that probably won't be addressed in the first day. It's probably the second day because we've got to get the roads cleared first. But no, it's a fair criticism, and we have to figure out how we can do that better after a big snow event.
Are you happy? That it? It is. Hello. You're on with Mayor Mitchell.
Yes, Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
I'm a homeowner in New Bedford. I've been shoveling snow since I was 8 years old to earn my keep for getting some spending money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now 52 years old. And when I was younger, we had odd and even years for fire hydrant sides. I think that needs to be imposed again, because this is really unfair to the guy that owns a property on the fire hydrant side, who has to come out 8-9 times because the snowplow keeps throwing it back there, and it's thick, heavy snow. I'm not 8 years old no more. I'm 52. I think this is really unfair. And the city years ago did have an odd and even year. That's my question.
I wasn't aware of that. So the snow band alternated sides each year?
Yes, sir. Odd and even. Odd years one side, even years the other side. And to me, it makes no sense to always throw it on the fire hydrant side, when if we have a fire, the firemen can get right to the hydrant with the truck and hook up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll certainly consider that. I wasn't aware that was a practice in the past. I can tell you that just based on my experience now, being in here for a few years, I would think that it would get confusing after a while.
Yeah, I know. That seems to be the problem, but years ago it wasn't confusing.
It wasn't confusing?
No, it wasn't confusing years
ago.
I
would guess that there'd be people who'd say, well, I parked on the side opposite the fire hydrant last time it snowed, which was last year. I guess that's where I should go this year. I don't know. We can look into it. Believe me, I'm open to new ideas.
I'm starting to fall apart, and I've been on that street for many years, and it's To me, it's highly unfair. And especially when your street's clean and you're all set, and then you think you can get out, and then a plow comes by again, and then you got more thick ice and water to shovel through.
Yeah.
It's very unfair. I think we should try and get a petition going, all these people that live on the fire hydrant side of the street, and let's impose the odd and even years like years ago.
Yeah.
Do you think something like that would pass?
Excuse me?
Do you think you're going to get up a petition, eventually it would come up to a vote. Do you think that something like your petition would pass?
I think it would, because a lot of the homeowners that are homeowners in this city that live here that are not unoccupied homes would take a stand on that, because it's highly unfair to them. And this has been going on for years.
Yeah.
What about the homeowners that live on the other side of the street?
Hey, their turn to shovel, Barry. Have a nice day.
You too.
Right,
I
you.
appreciate it. My thought process is that you want to make sure those hydrants are as open as possible, and one of the ways to help that happen is by not having the cars on that side of the street.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
correct.
Let's continue. You're on with the mayor.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor Mitchell.
Good afternoon.
I agree with that man who just spoke about being plowed in. Now, I've been going through this for like almost 20 years where I live, and I just can't do it anymore either. I'm 61 years old. My body's all broken down, and yes, I'm a female. And I apply with all the rules and do what I'm supposed to, and I continually get the plow that keeps his blade to the right, and I'm right near a stop sign, so I don't know why he can't plow that just a little further up and make the pile where the stop sign is and take it out of my driveway. You know, and
I hear what you're saying. That is, I will tell you, that is probably, of all the calls we get during snowstorms, that's probably the single biggest complaint, that the plows push snow into my driveway. And I get it. It's frustrating. And
what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, but I'm not going to have a heart attack, Mayor. Another thing is,
I don't want you to have a heart attack. Don't have a heart attack on us.
I know. And the last time, you know, the blizzards we've had before with that heavy wet, I almost dropped then.
All right,
and not only that, my knees,
take it easy.
Everything's gone on me.
Go get a kid. Go get a kid to do it for you.
I know what happened one year. A guy did come by, and I only had $10, and he wanted 20. I gave him the 10, and he beat me. It must have been. It wasn't a kid. It was like a younger guy, and the kids don't want to do it anymore. You can't even find a kid.
You know that part I will agree with her. You don't find kids going down getting $5-10 to shovel a driveway anymore.
It's interesting. Yeah, I've seen the same thing.
But anyway, I'm going to call because I called this time and I was successful. So in the future, I am going to call DPI and your office if I have to show my face up to you, and I am going to
always welcome.
Excuse me?
I said you're always welcome.
Well, I'm going to make sure.
But don't do it in the middle of a snowstorm.
They're not going to plow me in anymore because I'm not going to have a heart attack shoveling snow in New Bedford because of that.
All right, listen, don't have a heart attack. Our guys, they do try to avoid driveways. Their first order of business is to get the streets cleared, and that's because not for convenience of motorists per se, but so that emergency vehicles can get up and down streets. That's what you have to do in a snowstorm. And you know, our guys, you know, are very accommodating. If you ask them, look, you know, can you just be careful there? They'll do it. I mean, they do try their best, but their first order of business is to clear the road so that ambulances and fire trucks can get, and police cruisers can get up and down. And you know, I mean, the other thing for you to consider too is that, you know, the city does have a program that it sponsors every year whereby it pays a group to have people go out and shovel driveways, mostly of seniors. So, you know, that's something you might want to consider as well. If you call the Department of Community Services, they can get you on the list.
Do you know the number?
I don't know that number. You can call the mayor's office and you'll get referred. So the mayor's office number is 979-1410.
Okay, thank you.
That might help you out.
Have a good day.
You too.
I think we found a solution there.
You know, as you and I were on the same page. Yes. You and I were on the same page about the hydrants and whatnot, and Wouldn't you know it, the next caller agrees with the other person about opposite bands. It works like that every once in a while.
It's been a robust dialogue about snow removal today.
You know what? That's because as well a job that you believe DPI did, and I'm not going to take anything away from them, people still had to drive and travel on those roads. They could not manage on the sidewalks. I had a woman who
I get it. Look, I drove on the same streets, and I remember saying, a few days after the storm, it took a few days to warm up and melt. I was like, boy, this stinks, because it was, it was bumpy. It felt like you're traveling on a dirt road in some places, and it was slippery, and it was slow going no matter what. There's no doubt about it. But as I told you off the air, the weather does play a part in it, and sometimes there are limits on what a city can do. I drove up. I think I was telling you a little bit about this off air. I remember after the snowstorm was done, maybe a couple of days afterward, I was driving up Hawthorne Street with one of my daughters, and we crossed Brownell, and we're going up, by Tithrath Israel Synagogue, and she said, "Hey, where's the?" She goes, "Where's the city line? It's around here somewhere, crossing into the town of Dartmouth." And I said, "It's around here somewhere." And then it caused me to look at the road, and the road on Hawthorne Street was no different on the Bedford side from the Dartmouth side. And then you drive around Dartmouth, and it looks just the same. And it's not a criticism of the folks who plow the streets in the town of Dartmouth. They do a good job. Dartmouth DPW does a nice job on the roads. But Dartmouth, like New Bedford, got the same rain event and then the same drop in temperature. And then you go further west to Fall River, and they didn't get any rain at all, and the streets were plowed because they didn't have to deal with the freezing problem. So it's these things happen, and with every storm, I charge to everybody is do a military style after action report, figure out what you did well, figure out what you could have done better, and then implement going forward.
Any idea what they've sat down to discuss, what they did well, what they could do better?
I think, what the number one thing is in my mind? I think the city has to strongly consider getting its own weather forecasting service.
Good luck with that.
No. They're offered. AccuWeather offers it to cities all around America.
Really?
Yeah. So we're not relying on, somebody who's, focusing on Providence, never mind Boston, and because we could see that these things, these storms can be different even within a few miles of one another, and
without a doubt. Well, especially here where you're on the water.
So we've been approached. So we've considered AccuWeather. AccuWeather has a service it offers municipalities, and lots of them around the country subscribe to it, and so we're trying to figure out whether it's worth the money.
Well, how much are they charging?
I don't know offhand. If it's too much, we won't buy it.
Let John do it. John would be a great weather forecaster. I see it in him.
You do?
Yes.
You see that future?
Yeah, I do. Look, the forecasters, they make $100,000 to $1 million a year. They make all the mistakes in the world.
$1 million forecaster?
Oh,
huh?
yeah. I used to work with one. Back in our radio days, he eventually went on to be what they call a naturalist in San Francisco. He's making $1.1 million a year. Unbelievable. Great guy. 508-9960-500. Maria. I don't think it's a Maria on the council. I know it's not. A different type of Maria wants to know why her taxes went up about $215 a quarter. Excuse me, $275 a quarter. And the streets still have potholes. Things just don't seem to get fixed.
So that's the question?
That's the question from Maria.
Well, it sounds like a very similar question to what we've heard earlier, Brian, which is...
No, that's the snow stuff. This is different. This is, I'm paying more money and the road's still like this. That's what it sounds like to me.
So, as I'm sure you've tuned into other of Barry's shows with me, we've talked about finances all the time. And we live in a time when money is tight. The city is, in terms of the way it manages its finances, is about as good as anybody in the Northeast, at least, if not further. and we are rebuilding from a number of years of disinvestment in things like streets and city buildings and schools and lots of other things. So as I think I hope you've noted in the past, the city has committed significantly to increasing its investment in roadways. So, and we'll be doing that again this year. Historically, the city has relied on state funding for roadways through the so-called Chapter 90 program, which allots road funding to each of the 351 municipalities in the state based on population as well as the mileage of miles of roads that the municipality has. So I've made the determination, and it did about a year or so ago, that wasn't nearly enough. The $2 million for a city that has over 300 miles of roads was not enough to maintain what we have, and so we had to increase that. So we went ahead and last year bonded for an additional $1 million, so right out of the city coffer, which is for the first time in a long time that the city actually committed to paying for its roadways and didn't rely on the state entirely. So that was it worked out to be about a 50% increase in total road repair funding, which is pretty huge, and we're going to continue that for the foreseeable future. So eventually people are going to see that the roadways are going to in the city of New Bedford are going to be in a much better shape. It doesn't happen overnight, neither the improvement nor the deterioration. So what the condition of the roadways now, and I'll be the first to tell you they need to be improved, is the product of years and years and years of neglect. So long before I got into the business, and shame on me if I didn't do anything about it and didn't stop the bleeding. But that's exactly what we did. We have a program in place now that will, in time, make the city streets really good.
One question I have this is a Brian question.
If the city remains committed to it across mayoral administrations, that's the key.
I get where you're going with that. Coggeshall Street. It's its own little bobsled course every once in a while. It slopes toward the curb, humps up in the middle. Construction seems to go on 2 times a year. Any idea when final construction on Coggeshall, let's say from Sawyer Street to Mitchell Street, it will be complete?
Yeah, this spring.
This spring?
Yeah. So, and that's a really good example, and I'm glad you bring it up, Brian, because a lot of times people will look at road projects and say, what an inconvenience. And they are an inconvenience temporarily, but what goes on those streets is not just evident to the naked eye. What happens on the street, most of what's going on that street happens underground with wastewater and water infrastructure that is absolutely necessary to make a city run. So in the case of Coggeshall Street, Brian, what we had there was underground infrastructure that dated back to the 1890s. So mayoral administrations for the last 120 years didn't touch that roadway, and I think it was about time that we do that, lest it fail, lest it cause flooding, lest it prevent people from flushing their toilets in the north end and running their water. So that was the first phase of the program. The city, through its wastewater fund, coupled with the state's revolving fund, spent about $9 million modernizing and upgrading that entire corridor along Coggeshall Street. So that's the first phase. The second phase is what we do on top, which is to make that roadway not just back the way it was, which was pretty beaten up, but actually improve it so it looks nicer. So it's smooth to travel on, so that it has safe and inviting sidewalks, so that there are trees, so that it looks nice. Because when it looks nice, people will say, this is a good place. It's a good place. If you're like Tony Martino at Antonio's, or one of the other businesses there, the End Zone, any number of them, they want the place to look nice, and that's what we're going to do, because that brings people into the city. It makes the neighborhood feel good about it, and these projects don't happen overnight.
All right, Mayor, hold tight. Callers, hold tight. Commercials, your turn.
1420 WBSM with Phil in the morning.
These are 700% larger today than they were 100 years ago. What is it?
Keep it G-rated.
I'm going to have to say the female derriere.
That is not it, sir.
Baby!
We are setting ourselves up.
The Morning Mayor, Phil Paleologos. Weekday mornings on New Bedford's News Talk Station, 1420 WBSM.
Get off that lumpy couch and get to Regal House Furniture Outlet to save big during the New Year's savings event going on right now. Pick a sofa and love seat or chaise sectional, even a reclining sofa and love seat at outlet prices, and be super comfortable and relaxed watching TV with the family on your new living room set. Plus, now save an additional 30 to 40% off when you use the holiday bonus coupons. Regal House Furniture Outlet has similar savings throughout the store. It's the perfect time to check out your mattress. When was the last time you bought a new one? Is it sagging, not giving you a restful sleep? Now's the time to get your new mattress at outlet prices, plus 30 to 40% off. And start the new year right, waking up with no backaches or muscle pulls. Regal House Furniture and Mattress Outlet also offers financing options. Layaway is available and no credit is needed. See store for details. The New Year's savings event at Regal House Furniture Outlet, 661 Belleville Ave in New Bedford.
Being healthier and spending your time better is at the top of everybody's list in 2018. The new Clean Eats delivery store at 77 State Road in Dartmouth, right next door to Bishop Stang, helps you with both. Stop in, grab delicious, healthy, pre-prepared meals, gluten-free, no sugar, no flour, no dairy. You'll be in and out in 5 minutes or less. Feel healthier. Let Clean Eats make your meals for you. Call 855-5MY-MEAL. Visit CleanEatsDelivery.com or stop by the new retail location in Dartmouth today.
You want your wedding day to be special, so trust Century House to host an event you'll remember forever. Their attentive staff will make every detail shine, from the outstanding food to the high-quality service. Your wedding will exude elegance from start to finish, and with their renovated lobby and updated rooms, Century House is the only place to host your special day. Make a reservation today to plan your wedding with one of their event planners. Century House, a tradition of elegance on South Main Street in Acushnet.
Barry. This is Barry. Barry Richard. Weekdays noon to 3 before Howie Carr on New Bedford's News Talk Station, 1420 WBSM. 1420 WBSM. This Sunday, the Jacksonville Jaguars make the trip up Route 1 in Foxborough to face off with the GOAT.
Brady, well protected. All kinds of time, and that goes in zone. Touchdown, New England.
At stake, a trip to Super Bowl 52, the AFC Championship game. Pre-game starts at noon live from Gillette. Kickoff at 3:05. The Patriots' road to Super Bowl 52 is brought to you by Fisher Bus, Shooting Supply, and Andrews Fruit and Produce on New Bedford's home for the National Football League. 1420 WBSM.
Getting sick isn't fun. Recovery isn't always easy. Staying well can be difficult, and no one should face advanced illness or end of life alone. Sometimes we all need a little help. Community Nurse Home Care provides award-winning home care, private care, rehab therapy, hospice, and wellness programs. Named one of the country's top 500 agencies with 4.5 stars for outcomes and 5 stars for patient satisfaction, when it's time to choose a home care agency, remember, it's your home, it's your health, it's your choice. Ask for Community Nurse.
The Barry Richard Show, 1420 WBSM.
Quickly, one last question from me for the mayor, and that deals with the Riverwalk. Mm-hmm. Do you have enough funding, and when do you think it might be complete?
Yeah, so it's a great project. So the Riverwalk, so people remember, is going to be a walkway that extends from Coggeshall Street right by the 7-Eleven next to Market Basket and wend its way over toward Riverside Park and then all the way up to the Acushnet line, and it's going to be great. And we do have funding for it. There may be a need for some more funding in the future, but work is being done on it. It will take some time because of the EPA cleanup that's going on right now. The EPA, after the Riverwalk project started, the EPA settled with Aerovox and received the payment of $366 million plus interest, and that money is being used to clean up first that the upper harbor, And obviously, we shouldn't be building a Riverwalk along the river if the EPA has to go back in and tear it all up to get all the contaminated sediments out. So it has to wait for the EPA to finish that part of the harbor, and they are moving along very well. And a lot of planning has been done. And if people want to see what it's going to look like, they should go to the city's website. If they go to the environmental stewardship link on the city's website, that you can go to and take a look right at the plan. And it's going to look great. And I think it's going to do wonders for a lot of the North End, to have a real great public amenity like that, just in the same way that the Cove Walk and the Harbor Walk have done for the peninsula. It's really going to add a lot.
Is there a timeline for completion?
Yeah, well, it's going to be another 3, 4, 5 years or so. It's very uncertain because it has to follow the cleanup.
And are you happy with the way the EPA is moving along with the cleanup?
Yeah, overall, yes, I am. They've been working very closely with us. We had a big milestone a few months ago when they agreed to allow us to go forward with the North Terminal permitting, the permitting of the North Terminal project. We need funding for that, but the EPA was great in working with us to get to that point. So more to come.
All right, Mr. Mayor, nice seeing you again.
Good seeing you, Brian.
Jonathan Carvalho, nice seeing you too. Great to do this. We may do it again if Barry needs another day off on a Wednesday.
if you get bored.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Let's see. News is coming up with Tim, and then hour 2 of the Barry Richards Show.
New Bedford's News Talk Station. New Bedford's News Talk Station. 1420 WBSM. New Bedford, streaming worldwide on the WBSM app and on WBSM.com.